someone shifted from South to North America, Canada, France, anywhere in this country. So I'm asking you your opinion because you are the expertise of this field. Some people try to impose that we are the best. Like I'm from North, I'm shifted to South. So if my nature is very rigid, so I'm always trying, I'm the best and I'm downing and degrading. You are not good, that is not good, like this way. So I think if they don't indulge with culture, if they don't will respect South or North, any part, so they will not grow. So you just tell me your opinion on this point of question.
Well, I think in short, yes, you're right. If you don't open yourself to different cultures, to learn different things, new things, you will not grow. And I think you make a very good point here, is that a lot of people, when they think about different cultures, well, the first thing we think about usually is national culture, so differences between countries. But there are differences, cultures are different in many other respects. And you mentioned between south and north or east or west or whatever area within a country, it is very different. For instance, when I moved to do my graduate studies from the middle of France to the south of France, and the culture was completely different. You know, the way people spoke, the way they interacted with each other, it was completely different. And yes, it could have been easy just dismissing people from the south of France and say, oh no, the way I do it is better. And but yeah, you've got to understand that no culture is better than any other. They're just different. They're different, and there are good things, there are bad things in every culture. And to grow and to develop, we've got to open to these different cultures. And I know that I'm a completely different person now than when I was when I left France. You know, I left France over 20 years ago. I've lived in 4 other different countries apart from France, and that really opened my mind like absolutely nothing else in the world. So yes, you can't go to places saying, oh, I'm better than these people, I'm better than this other culture, because you will miss so much in the world.
Well, you know, Nadege, Canada, where I live, is a country where multiculturalism flourishes. I'm very proud of my country in many ways. And as a person of Ukrainian descent, I have always felt free to practice my culture here. You know, we do our Ukrainian dancing or Ukrainian language or, Ukrainian whatever, food and etc. Excuse me. And yet, our country, like many countries, and corporations too, it's rampant. We have fallen down in other areas. For example, the whole world knows that for over a century, the Catholic and Anglican churches stole the children, babies, young children from the homes of our Indigenous First Nations brothers and sisters. And some of these children never saw their parents again. And many were abused on all levels. And I have coached some of these people who've been in those residential schools, and the trauma that has scarred the hearts of these beautiful people brings tears to my eyes. And so the question, Nadege, is what makes humans so insensitive to each other's needs? What is that?
I'm not sure I've got the answer, but the way I see it is that it's not a new phenomenon. And here I would put my former biologist hat and and say that basically we are still, from our evolution, all geared up towards our own survival.
Ah.
And so basically it means two things: that everything that we don't know, everything that is different is a potential threat. And we still see things like that because our societies, our world has evolved way too fast for any kind of biological evolution to happen in human terms. So basically, our very deep thinking is still geared up to difference is a threat, something that I don't know. The first thing I do is that I consider that as a threat, and maybe later on I'll change my mind. But that's the first thing, and basically it's my survival first. And I think, however much we want to think that we are clever, rational people, there's still this kind of very deep thinking underlying our thought processes.
Well, that removes a lot of my judgment. Thank you so much. I think moving into a place of compassion, that these people are just helping their families to survive, right? It's all about their own survival. It's no excuse, for their actions, but at least we can be compassionate on why they did it in the first place. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm interrupting you. I'm adding you one more thing. Like example, if I'm a single person, I'm from any country, I'm coming Germany, Canada, for example, and then I will calling my lot of people in your country. Then I become majority. So a lot of people, they want to do wrong thing also. I'm telling, adding you. What they think, if we are become powerful, so we can change your country law, we can change your culture, we can change your culture, we can change your thought process. So this is my point of view. It's completely wrong. If I am either one person or either million people, if I'm living in your country, so it's my duty. I will respect your country law. I will love your land. I will love your culture. I will love your people. So this way, if we are looking and going, so we will go in very peaceful way. So what is your opinion? This is very important question in this cultural thing, because this thing is happening a lot of countries now these days.
That's I think it's a really good point that all three of you are bringing up, because I do agree with the thought of protection, right? It's our human nature to protect ourselves. And I believe that even what you said, Raj, of that desire to control has a lot to do with that protection, right? Whatever we control, we can, or we think we can, protect. And I believe that, for one, it's that desire that seems to be getting more and more, where people just want to control more and have more influence and more power overall. And then the very biological, like Nadege was saying, that whatever is near and dear to me, whatever I believe, right, I want to protect at all costs. And that's a dangerous endeavor, because that can very quickly get out of line. And I've seen that on the corporate side, where when I first came to the US, I was working for a German company, and I saw it firsthand, where we had Americans and we had Germans, and it is a very different approach to doing business and to leading people. And there were times where it was the culture almost overruling how things would be done. And I personally believe we have to, first of all, get ourselves to a point where we try to understand where are people coming from in different cultures, right? Because as Nadege and Betska said, it's not good or bad. It's everything, and every culture has something good, something bad. And at the end of the day, I believe we would benefit from, all of us would benefit from learning to be more accepting, learning to go deeper beyond the surface, and understand what's driving other cultures. And I don't know, Betska or Nadege, how you feel about that subject, but that's where I feel we have to start.
Yes, yes, you make a very good point, and I totally agree with you that we have to understand each other, and it's a two-way communication. You know, like you were saying, Raj, if I go to another country, you know, I've got to learn about the culture, love the people there, but it goes the other way around. Basically, the people in that country from the dominant culture, they also have to accept the cultures of the different people coming in. And at the end, and I think maybe it might be because it has become more of a topic because people have been moving around a lot more. So now basically we are in a lot of places where you have all these different cultures coming together, and they are unfortunately clashes. But the way also I would see it, and you were talking about the corporate world, Marion, which is also a very good example, is that it's a culture in itself. And so, you know, when you have different original cultures coming together, like I said, the American culture and the German culture, yes, it's about understanding each other. And it's also, to me, about, because a new group of people come together to build a new culture. And maybe that's why also at the higher level, like in countries, because we have so many different cultures in that same place and people have to live together, that maybe there will be a transition to actually a new culture with the new people and the originally different people, but that can come together and build something that will work for everybody.
So Marion used that word acceptance, and I really feel that that's a major key to, you know, like the corporate story you just told about being excited about accepting each other and respecting each other's cultures. And, you know, at lunchtime, have a lunch and learn, and everybody brings food from their different regions of the country or whatever, right? And just really accept and love the differences versus using those differences to cause problems, right?
Yeah, how we address problems, how we resolve problems. And I remember I was very passionate about coming to the US. So you bet that I came here and I didn't really want to spend too much time with the Germans. I wanted to spend time with the Americans, because I figured if I wanted to spend time with the Germans, which the German culture I am very well aware of, then I could have stayed in Germany. That was my approach. But I did see that a lot of Germans were clustering up, as is with other cultures too. You see that in various different situations, that we stick to what we know. And that's another phenomenon that I've noticed, that whatever we know, and Nadege was saying it earlier, whatever we know brings a certain level of comfort, right? But when I remember how within the organization, when there was a challenge, there was an issue, and how differently people from different cultures would approach that, with humor or with sincerity or with, you know, whatever the approach was, that was very much culturally dependent. And it was so intriguing to watch how, when there is an issue, how you could take that maybe with more of a humorous and maybe a lighter version approach. So those things, I believe, and growth is a component we talked about a minute ago. It is something where you personally can grow, not just professionally, but you're growing personally if you're open to receive.
Yeah, that's
So it means,
that,
so
that's
now
that's
time is
absolutely
changed.
right.
So it means now school and college, they need to change curriculum also. It's important. They will prepare, they are ready for, you know, launch new things, so they can, you know, upgrade children. And even the corporate house, they need to run a program like Ned is doing, to upgrade cultural training, respect each other, social activities, these kind of, this is a very good point. I also agree with Marion. If I am coming for Germany or France, so I will first love your country, I will love your culture, then I will involve with a lot of German people so I can learn your culture, then I love your country. If I'm always friendship with my country people, so I will not love your country, I will just taking economical benefits from your country and just do shit.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the wrong approach actually.
Yeah.
My heart will never become German. My heart will always become the same old rigid-minded person.
You know, funny story on that. When you know, even how we do business, how we connect with each other. There is in the American culture, there's quite a bit of small talk. In other cultures, there's a lot of relationship building that comes before any kind of business conversation. And I remember when the very first year in the States, when people asked me, how are you? And I would wonder, why are you asking me that? You don't even know me. Why would you ask me how I am? And so here I went on first looking at them funny. And then of course in German, you know, you ask somebody how they're doing, they look at you like you have two hats. And so I was actually responding. I would tell them, oh, today was great, yesterday wasn't so great. And I would tell them all the details. And now they would look at me like I had two heads, because they're like, who is this weird person, right? That's actually answering how she's doing. And so I think when we're looking at that, how we connect with each other, what are the customs? What are the different ways to build and to really leverage and to benefit from each other and to learn from each other? All of these components have to be coming together.
When I first moved to Paris, France, I have another cute story too. I was born in the prairies of Canada, you know, a small hamlet of 140 people, right? So tiny. And then, you know, we moved to Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada. And then I was thrown into the diplomatic world. So I spent many years in the embassies and high commissions in Paris, France, London, England, Bern, Switzerland, etc. But when I first got to France, my cousin and my sister were visiting, and we were walking down the street in Paris, down the Champs-Élysées or some of the other streets there, and I'm saying hi to everybody. The little village girl is saying hi to everybody, right? And my cousin got so upset by that. Why are you doing that? You know, why are you doing that? You know, someone's going to abuse you. Someone's going to hurt you. And so, you know, my question here is really, you know, we talked about acceptance of cultures. We talked about respecting cultures and trusting different cultures. And so doesn't it boil down, Nadege, to communication?
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and so, you know, what is that role of communication in managing this cross-cultural diversity?
Yeah, no, definitely communication is absolutely key. And to me, its main role, it's about asking and clarifying. And so it should be asking questions to other people about what you don't understand, you know, something you see or something they said, and oh, I'm not sure I understand that, because obviously we're putting our own meaning on what other people do, on what they say. But our meaning, because our culture will be different, is probably not the right meaning. And so we need to have that communication to ask and to clarify, to understand the other people's point of view, and also to tell them what is our point of view. So to me, yeah.
No, go ahead. I have a follow-up.
Yeah. So to me, it's the main purpose of communication is understand, is asking the questions, clarifying, and open this dialogue.
And
that's the main.
Yeah, and that communication should come from the heart, not from the head, right? It should be felt, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which
Absolutely.
makes me wonder how much of communication is the language itself, and how much is a certain communication style that you're finding in different cultures, right? Because in my experience, that the German communication style, the cultural style, is much more direct. Even to an extreme, so that when I sometimes go back after 20 years in the States, that I am surprised, even though I was born and raised there, of how direct people are and the things that they say. So language is one part, and I totally agree with both of you. I believe listening and really clarifying, asking, making a real effort in understanding what is the other person trying to communicate is that foundation. But how much of that needs to be adjusted? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. How much of that style, and what's the best approach to go about that, to make sure something isn't misunderstood because I feel that's part of my culture, but it might not be perceived as well by another culture.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that comes above. We've talked about acceptance, and acceptance is definitely the first step. Yes, you accept that there are different cultures in the world, that other people see the world differently from how you see the world. Acceptance, it doesn't mean that you agree with it, but you accept that there are differences. But that is not enough, because if there's nothing done to understand the differences and to bridge the gap, we're not going to go further. So then there's an adaptation. So you need to understand where the differences are, and then you need to understand how you can adapt, because it's all about meeting people where they are. And so again, if you think that it's a two-way, it's not just about you going all the way to the other person. So that might happen, but it's not just about that. And it's not also to the other person to go all the way to you, but it's to go along that line between you and to understand where you are, where you come from, why you communicate the way you communicate. Marion, you were talking about different communication styles, and you mentioned directness here. So to understand how that works, and then you can begin to bridge the gap by adapting. And you say, ooh, I was surprised how direct. So maybe, you can begin to be again a bit more direct, and that kind of thing. So there is this adaptation, definitely. So above acceptance, there is this adaptation, and then there's all the integration, that basically when you spend long enough into a culture that you really understand that culture, you can integrate bits of it, and then you hold in your mind these different perspectives at the same time.
Can anybody out there hear me?